Hey, all my friends out there, welcome to the Final Cut. Mark the Movie Man here. So glad you could visit us today as we've got an interesting film for you. You know, sometimes you watch things just because of their title alone. Now, for those of you who do not know, I am part of Astro Radio Z podcast put on by our friend Mr. Derek Carey. Once a month, we watch a film that is picked by his patrons, and then we talk about it in Astro Radio Z Uncensored. Well, his patrons picked a film, I think, because of the title alone, and I went out and actually bought it so I could watch it. And yes, I am talking about The Hip Hop Witch. Yes, The Hip Hop Witch, made in 2000, though the DVD was put out, I think, in 2003 by Artisan and Seville, and we get the story of a supernatural terror that is attacking hip-hop's hottest artists of the time. And we hear from various clips from these artists and their encounters, both scary, sometimes sexual, and sometimes just kind of basic experience with running across the hip-hop witch. While we see that footage, someone is offering a reward of many millions of dollars in order to find evidence that the hip-hop witch actually exists. Then there is also a underlying story of what actually sparked the hip hop witch and why this story, this tall tale, has been started in the inner city. And on top of that, there's a group of 5 white kids who decide to go to the inner city to track down the hip hop witch to prove it is false. And this is all just a scam. And we see how all of these stories collide through found footage clips in a film that is parodying, as you can guess, the Blair Witch Project. This film, I use the term kind of loosely, is interesting. If you're a fan of all these hip-hop artists, it's great to see. Someone must have had footage of, like, backstage where they had access to all of these talented individuals, and they get them real quick and just have them riff off of the phrase the hip-hop witch by getting these artists and just say, tell us about the hip-hop witch. And of course, they roll with it and just give this outrageous description and stories of their encounter with the hip-hop witch. And it is sometimes hilarious, sometimes disturbing, but man, if you created a list, which we ended up doing, of what the hip-hop witch actually looks like and its characteristics, it is a scary individual, and this amalgamation of all these imaginations of all these talented folks. Now, there is a story in here. We do have talent where there is a narrative, though we get it broken up quite a bit through these clips that we had with interviews of the hip-hop artists. We get a story in here of Dee Dee, who's an aspiring reporter who's having trouble trying to get her big break with the news agency she hires, who keeps putting her in the mailroom, which seems like she just lives there. Well, she gets tired of living there and decides to break out on her own to try to break the story of the hip-hop witch. And we see the lengths of that she goes through to try to get actual evidence of what's going on with this supernatural terror. As far as the kids who end up going to the inner city to investigate, very, very little of that story until the very end of this movie. For their part. And let me tell you, they make some of the dumbest decisions in here. And yeah, there's all kinds of things going on. This is really an amalgamation of just found footage stuff interspersed with some fictional narratives that were put together, but it is not the most entertaining watch. Well, let me backtrack. It is. It actually is entertaining as long as you watch it with a group. This is definitely one of those films that you have to have with a group watch. And if you're a fan of all of these artists, which just check out this list of individuals in this film who make at least a cameo through the clips. We get Eminem, Ja Rule, Prayas, Vanilla Ice, Rod Digga, Mobb Deep, Charlie Baltimore, Vitamin C, Mia Tyler, and more. I mean, you just when you think you've seen them all, more artists show up in here with their stories. Eminem's story with it is the longest, and this film is entertaining solely because of the editor. The editor to this film is named Namakula, and I gotta give mad props to Namakula for the editing work that she did on this film by taking all of this footage, which obviously was done improv and a bit impromptu at times, to put it all together and give you at least some semblance of a narrative, took some serious talent. And it is because of her, I will say, that this coalesces into a story with a twist ending that almost makes it worth the journey. There are some very humorous moments in here, a few very serious moments in here. Now, as far as the Dee Dee character played by Stacey Johnson, I liked her character quite a bit. I would have liked to see more of this story with her, not just in the mailroom, and I enjoyed her performance in here as the Dee Dee character. The director, Dale Restaghini, and I hope I pronounced that right, who directed and wrote this, also stars in front of the camera in a small role. There is so much to unpack in this film that, it was made in 2000, and I think maybe it was a little bit ahead of its time, because I think if this came out today, it would be in shorter bits, kind of like a web series, almost that kind of approach. And I think it may have worked better. Watching it as a full narrative, though, Namakula, thank you very much. You made this definitely watchable, and some creative, entertaining edits that added a bit of humor to the film where you least expect it. So there you have it, folks. The Hip Hop Witch. Seek it out with some friends and watch it together so you can enjoy seeing some of your favorite hip hop artists, as well as just this wild story that goes to many, many places, but ends up in only one spot at the end that may surprise you. So there you have it, folks. Please check out our Patreon if you haven't already. Love to hear your thoughts on this film. If you've seen The Hip Hop Witch, subscribe as well to keep up with our other video projects we got going on. I thank you for your support. And until next time, remember, keep that ticket stub.